What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Sleeper Colts. I am your host, as always, Cody Felger. And guys, the Indianapolis Colts play their final preseason game on Saturday against the Detroit Lions. And then the following day, Sunday, the Colts will begin figuring out their final 53-man roster cuts. Cuts are due at 6 p.m. on Sunday. So with that being said, guys, I wanted to look at the roster for the Colts based off of the two preseason games we have here and give my prediction here about 5 days-ish or so until the Colts do make these cuts. So obviously some things can happen, and also obviously things change from the time the roster cuts happen to the regular season. The Colts will have a couple weeks until the regular season. So a lot will probably change and be tweaked between final roster cuts and week one roster cuts and what that looks like, because obviously other players will get cut. The Colts will probably, hopefully, sign a few players off of waivers as well for certain position groups. So this is just kind of the initial one. It'll obviously be subject to change. So with that being said, guys, let's jump right into this and start on the offensive side of the ball. We'll start with the quarterback position, and to me, this one's pretty cut and dry for me. It's more of a matter of who do you believe deserves the backup quarterback, who deserves that position. But to me, I'm keeping the three quarterbacks: Daniel Jones, Anthony Richardson, and Riley Leonard. To me, there's no doubt you're keeping these three quarterbacks on your roster, and whoever is that third quarterback will probably be a guy that come week one won't be technically on the roster, but will be kind of that emergency quarterback if you need them. So right now I'm sticking with three quarterbacks. I don't think there's much debate about that. The debate more lies in who is the backup quarterback over the other right now. So three quarterbacks for me to start makes some sense there. Now moving on to running back, and I've seen kind of people all over the place in terms of running backs right now with that running back position, just because I was doing some number crunching. I originally had four, but I'm just going to keep three guys right now. That's obviously Taylor, McGowan, and I'm going to put Ulysses Bentley over DJ Giddens. I know that might be a little bit of a surprise, but to me, Bentley has looked better and he's been more available. So I'm going to keep three right now. Like I said, I wanted to try to find a way to keep DJ Giddens on this roster, but just with the number crunching, it's hard right now. But I could definitely see that changing, especially because we're going to have a lot of guys on the line here that we're going to talk about in a minute. But yeah, I'm going to keep three running backs at the current time. Now, moving on to wide receiver, I am going to keep six wide receivers right now. I'm pretty confident in the top four, potentially even the top five. You obviously have Pierce, you have Downs, you have Keenan Allen, you have Ashton Doolin, who's going to be a primary special teams gunner and also helps you out in the return game. And I'm pretty confident that Nick Westbrook-Ikhine will also make it on the roster. So that's five guys right there, and a bunch of guys competing for the final roster spot here. And I'm kind of gone back and forth on this, but I think at the current time, I'm going to stick with Anthony Gould right now. I know that some of these other guys provide more in terms of upside as a receiver, but as a six wide receiver, you don't necessarily need that from your guy that's going to return kicks. Now, I seriously did consider Coleman Owen for this position. I don't really think Deion Burks has showed you enough consistency in the return department to warrant that, so he'll probably be a guy that's on the practice squad this year. But to me, I really see a situation here where Indianapolis keeps six wide receivers, and I think you keep Gould just because he's been your primary return guy here, and on every depth chart, he's been listed as a starter. I know he's dealt with some injuries during camp and things like that, but I'm going to keep him around for sure. So those are my six wide receivers I'm keeping right now. Now, moving over to the tight end position, I'm going to keep four tight ends here. You have obviously Tyler Warren, you have Mo Alley Cox, you have Andrew Ogletree, but I really think Will Mallory has earned his way onto this roster, and hopefully a couple snaps, if not more, per game, where you're finding opportunities to get Will Mallory involved in the passing attack, because he showed some really good things in that first preseason game. Obviously missed the last preseason game due to an injury, but I really like what Will Mallory provides to you in the receiving game. And frankly, Will Mallory is a different type of tight end than you have on your roster right now. He's by far the guy that can stretch stretch the field the most, and he's the guy that I think really can do the most work after the catch. Like, Warren can do it after the catch, but Will Mallory is just a lot more shifty than any tight end on this roster. You have a lot of big body tight ends, which is not a bad thing, but Mallory is more of that smaller receiving type of tight end, and so as a result, he's just a little bit more nimble. He's a little bit more quick in those areas, and so I certainly think for your tight end room, it doesn't hurt to have a curveball like a Will Mallory in there that's a completely different type of tight end than what you have with the other three guys. So to me, I'm going to keep Will Mallory here as that fourth tight end. Hopefully, like I said, he gets more opportunities in the passing attack because there's not a whole lot that you've seen from Moali Cox and Andrew Ogletree from a receiving standpoint. So maybe Will Mallory gets out there and gets some reps and gets some targets. So hopefully that's the case because I really like what Will Mallory showed, and I've always liked Will Mallory as a player, so hopefully he gets his opportunity this year. All right, moving on to the offensive line, and I'm going to stick with 9 offensive linemen right now. I believe that's what the Colts did last year as well. Not super surprised. Kind of similar to running back. This is a position group that I really think the Colts could seriously and should seriously consider adding at least one more player on their backup offensive line off of waivers, if not 2 guys, to be honest with you right now. It's to that point where I think it's something you have to seriously consider. But as it stands right now, before any of that does happen, I have them keeping 9 guys. Obviously, you have your 5 starters with Ryman, with Nelson, with Bordolini, with Gonsalves, and then with Jalen Travis. You have Jalen Farmer, who's going to be your 6th guy there, 4th-round pick this year, who the Colts really like. A couple other guys I think will also make it on this Colts offensive line. I would say as well, a guy like Blake Freeland, as kind of that swing tackle will certainly make it, in my opinion. Luke Tenuta, when he does get back from injury, he's shown enough, I think, to be another quality offensive tackle for you, potentially even better than Blake Freeland. So I like both those guys. And then the final guy I'll probably keep, and again, subject to change, but just because he's kind of been the primary backup center to various levels of success, is Dalton Tucker. I'm going to keep Dalton Tucker right now. He's been on this roster for a while. He's been around this team for a while. But if the snap issues continue, then I would certainly consider the Indianapolis Colts finding somebody else to back up Tanner Bordolini and have another capable center on the roster, because we've heard all about the issues you've had throughout the course of this preseason, throughout the course of this camp with your backup center. So yeah, we'll have to figure that out. But right now, I am confident keeping 9 guys at the current time. Continuing on to the defensive line. To me, I'm going to keep 10 defensive linemen here. I mean, you have the guys that you know are going to make the roster, are going to start for you with Buckner, with Stewart, with Latu, and with Arden Key. And you have some key reserve backups as well. You have Adi Tamiwa Adebaware. You have Jalen Tui Mulawal right now, who are kind of your primary guys there that I feel like will be the next men up in this defensive line rotation right now. Colby Wooden as well would be another guy I'd qualify as a next man up in that interior, that defensive line. But I would also keep also Michael Clemens as well would be another guy I'd classify as kind of that next man up also. But I would also probably keep both of these rookies as well, Caden Curry and George Gums. They've showed me some solid things as rookies to make me feel more confident keeping them over some of these other defensive linemen that frankly just looked awful. Nobody looked good on last Saturday, but I'd rather keep these young guys with more of the upside than some of these players who have kind of been passed around the league and are, in their mid to late 20s at this point. I'd rather keep these rookies. So I'm going to keep 10. I'm going to keep the rookies here. And I personally feel all right about that, keeping 10 guys. Pretty confident in that. So we'll have to see on that. So moving on to the linebackers for this team. To me, I'm going to keep 5 guys. Originally I thought about keeping 4, but with the way the Colts have rotated their linebackers this year, I don't think I can keep any less than 5 at this point, because I think all 5 of these guys are going to see the field in some capacity this year. You obviously have, the guys you brought in this offseason, a lot of new guys you brought in, and you got to start with Akeem Davis-Gaither, who seems to be one of the starters. And really, the other players that you brought in, C.J. Allen just getting back from injury, Bryce Betcher, the 4th-round rookie this year. Both those guys are going to have pretty big roles this year with this team. You also have Jalen Carlies, who coming off of a forgettable first couple of years, but has looked strong in the preseason so far and has definitely gotten some run with the ones. So I wouldn't be shocked at all if he is listed as a starter at some point. Also, Austin Ajaki is another player that has had a pretty strong camp as well. So like I said, the Colts are rotating so many of these linebackers. So wouldn't be shocked at all if all 5 of these guys made it and all 5 of these guys contributed in different ways. So I'm going to keep 5 linebackers for right now. All right, we have a couple more positions here for this team, 13 positions left here that the Colts will have to have. So we'll start with the cornerback position, and we will fit 6 guys into this rotation for this group. Similar to wide receiver, your top 4 for sure. And I think 5 and 6 are kind of up in the air. To me personally, out of the guys who are going to be competing for 5, I personally think Jalen Jones has looked the best out of anybody. He's looked better than Mekhi Blackman. He's looked better than Jonathan Edwards. So I would say Jalen Jones, to me, makes that 5th cornerback spot. And then I think the 6th cornerback spot right now is probably going to go to a player like Jonathan Owens, who, again, has not looked good at all in the preseason, but he does contribute on special teams, which matters in a lot of ways. It matters on keeping on to an NFL roster. If you can't play special teams and you're not one of the top couple starters, you're going to have a hard time sticking places. So to me, that gives him an edge over a player like Mekhi Blackman. I would probably roll with Jonathan Edwards as that 6th corner. Again, he's a younger guy. He's undrafted rookie last year. So there still is room for improvement with him, whereas Mekhi Blackman's been in the league for a while. He kind of is what he is a little bit more. So I'd rather go with a young guy that does things on special teams and also has a little bit more of an upside as a young player like a Jonathan Edwards. So this might be a position group, if I'm the Colts, I'm considering as well. But right now I'm going to stick with these 6 corners right now. And so, of course, that leaves me with 4 slots for the safety position here and then 3 slots, obviously, for the special teams. So I'm going to stay with that 4 safeties, and the 4 safeties that I'm going to keep is going to be obviously Cameron Bynum, AJ Holsey, Hunter Wooler, and I'm going to go Jonathan Edwards because a couple reasons. Number one, he's been out of all the other safeties, that are going to be in there competing, he's been the guy we've heard the most about right now. He's made some plays in the pass game, but also we know when he got signed, he's a special teams ace, right? He's a guy that helps you out on special teams. So again, similar to Jonathan Edwards, it's a guy that's going to get in over other players that you might be like, hey, I think these other players might be better players on defense, but they don't play special teams, so it doesn't matter because he's going to be contributing right away. Not on the defense, but he's going to be contributing in special teams, which matters. You need pretty much everybody on your roster in some capacity to be helping you out, especially on some of these wide receiver, corner, and safety positions. You need these guys to help you out on special teams. So to me, that's why I'm going with Jonathan Owens over a few different players that you brought in. So yeah, that's my 4 safeties there. And then I'm going to wrap it up here with the special teams. And obviously we know long snapper Luke Rose, punter Rigoberto Sanchez, and the kicker position. To me, guys, it is so wide open. I have no clue at this point. I'm probably just going to stick with Blake Grupe at the current time, but I believe it's anyone's position to win. And Spencer Shrader has certainly closed the gap in the last couple weeks. And so, we could go out and say Blake Grupe, no question. But right now, oh man, I really believe that Spencer Shrader has a great shot to win this thing. If he continues trending up, Blake Grupe continues to trend down. And obviously we'll see. I'm sure both these guys will get chances to kick on Saturday. And if we have another performance where Shrader just looks phenomenal, Blake Grupe looks meh, I will go with Spencer Shrader. But right now, Spencer Shrader to me has a slight edge still. obviously very subject to change. So we'll just have to see how Saturday goes for both these kickers. But other than that, guys, that really does it for my look at the Indianapolis Colts final 53-man roster, my predictions here for this team. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. I appreciate all your support. Sorry I didn't get to a recap, guys. It was kind of a crazy weekend for me, but I figured I'd do this video as we're kind of looking to the end of the preseason here, to roster cuts, and then eventually, obviously, to the Colts versus Ravens here in only a couple short weeks. So let me know your guys' thoughts in the comment section down below. That'll do it for this one, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. And as always, guys, have a good one.